Hello learners, welcome to this session on your course BFDI 072 Basics of Pattern Making and Sewing. Today's topic of discussion is handling of sewing machine. So earlier we have discussed what pattern is, how you will develop a pattern, what are different methods of pattern making. We have discussed different tools for pattern making and how you will take body measurement and its process. Now it's time to understand the method of construction. In that, the first step is to understand the sewing machine. So today we will discuss all about the handling of sewing machine. So in this session, we will just focus on the parts of sewing machine and function of different parts of sewing machine. Like different types of sewing machine we have discussed in the part 1 of this particular unit. Now we will discuss different parts of sewing machine and what its function and how you will use that part for the construction of garment. So first let us understand the sewing machine and what are different types of sewing machine we have. So with the rapid development of sewing machine and the sewing technology have introduced a wide varieties of sewing machine. Like in the earlier time, we used to stitch our garment with hand stitches and with threads and the needles. But as the technology has developed, we have different types of sewing machines, and in the present scenario, we have different latest versions of the technologies and the sewing technologies we have, which reduces the time and money also. So there are mainly 3 types of sewing machines we have, named as the hand-operated sewing machine, which we can say is the oldest model of the sewing machine we generally see in our home, and it is operated by hand. Then we have the treadle sewing machine. Like it is the some advanced version of the hand-operated sewing machine what we have, and it is attached on a table in which there is a paddle foot. There we have to move our foot and the machine will be operated. And with the advancement of time, we have the motorized or the electric sewing machine, which minimizes our time, saves our energy, and it has many features different from the hand operated or the treadle machine what we use. So these 3 machines we basically use for the garment construction at the domestic level and also at the industrial level. So now we will talk about the part of sewing machine. Like there are different parts. If you see a sewing machine at a whole, we have different parts and there is the particular use of that part. So basic structure and the function of all the sewing machine is same, whether it is hand operated or treadle machine or the electric machine. The basic structure and the function of every machine is similar, but we have some more parts on, like electric sewing machine. We have some extra parts and extra version we have, but most of the same function of the same. I will repeat, most of the parts are same and the function is also same. The main components are common to all. So basically the 3 major parts in every sewing machine we have. First is the machine, table and stand. So these are the major 3 parts of a machine we have. Then any sewing machine comprises of 4 parts, like 4 sections we have in any sewing machine, whether it is hand operated, whether it is treadle sewing machine or any electric or motorized sewing machine. The first section we have is the upright section. When you see a picture of a sewing machine, you can understand that there are 4 parts, or we can divide it in 4 sections. First is the upright section, in which the balance wheel is there. Then we have the arm portion or the arm section of the machine, in which we have the oil guide, where we put the oils for the smooth operation of the machine. We have the spool pin, where we put our thread or the thread spool to construct the garment. We have the stitch regulator, which regulates the length of the stitch. Then we have the bed section of the machine, which when we remove the table or the lower part of the machine, we have the arm section. We have the oil guide, spool pin and the stitch regulator. We have the bed part, in which we have the feed dog, throat plate, bed of the fabric to just get it stitched by the needle. Then we have the face section. Face section contains the thread take-up lever. It has the tension screw. It has the needle bar, pressure regulator and the thread guide. So these 4 sections are in whole make it a sewing machine. So let's in the picture you can see and understand what different parts are there of a sewing machine. Now we will understand its use. So feature of a domestic or an industrial lock stitch machines are very similar. So the common feature we have, or the common parts we can say we have, is first is the balance wheel, which regulates the operation of the sewing machine. We have the stitch length regulator, which regulates the length, what will be the length of the stitch we can have for the construction of garment. If we want some garment to be stitched with a bigger length, we can use that stitch length regulator to adjust the length of the stitches. We have the thread guide. Thread guide is like from when sewing machine you see on a hole, it operates, or the garment is stitched when the lower thread on the machine and the upper thread on the machine both get interlaced, we stitch the fabric. So thread guide is the point from where we put or insert the upper thread from the spool pin. Then we have the needle bar. Needle bar is the position in the machine where we insert our needle to get it our garment stitched. Then we have the pressure bar and the pressure foot. Pressure regulator is there, hand lifter is there, and tension regulator. Then we have the feed dogs which holds the fabric, throat plate, bobbin and bobbin case. So these are some common features in every machine we will find that, and on the whole these parts are used for the construction of garment. But like we have discussed that there are new versions of the machines we have. So some machines have different features, like back tack lever is there. Suppose we are doing a stitch and want the stitch to get it locked, we have the back tack lever there to fix the stitch there. We have the knee lifter. Oil window is there where you can put the oil. 3 holes. Thread eyelet is there. Oil pen, foot treadle and bobbin winder. So all these extra features are there in the latest versions of the new version of the machines we have. Then what different functions we these parts we discussed. What is the function we have on the, and why it is used. So the machine consists of the following parts, such as first we discuss the head part of the machine. When you see in the picture, you can understand when we remove the table or the base of the machine, the upper part of the machine is said as the head part of the machine. So the complete sewing machine without the stand or the table what we have is called the machine head. So it is main sewing part of the machine that is above the table, and it consists of various forming part which we will be discussing in the later sections. Then we have the bed part of the machine. Bed part, the working surface of the machine is called as the machine bed, where we put our fabric to get it stitched. It is said as the bed part of the machine. So its main function is to support the material to be sewn. Like there are different parts. Suppose we have the feed dog, throat plate. All these are on the bed section or the bed part of the machine. So the main function of the bed part is to support the material to be sewn. Like we have the area to put our fabric and the various sewing attachments and the mounts are there on the lower mechanism. Like we have the bobbin where we put the bobbin, and the bobbin case is there where we insert our lower thread and then we start stitching our fabric. So, then next we have the upright section. Upright section, the bed and the head of the machine is the broad classification we have. Then we have the upright section, and the upright section consists of, first we have the balance wheel or the hand wheel. So balance wheel or the hand wheel, it is the part of the machine that controls the motion of the machine. Whether we can have the manual or the electric machine, we have the balance wheel, and before starting the machine, first thing we have to use is the balance wheel to adjust the control of the motion of the machine. We start with using the balance wheel. So in an electric machine, if we are using, it is connected to a motor and it is driven by a belt. Like suppose if you have seen both the hand operated and the electric machine, so it is connected to a motor and it is driven by a belt. Like a belt is connected, and with a motor we can use the balance wheel. So as the balance wheel is rotated manually or electrically, the machine starts to run. So first step the first part we use is the balance wheel. So in the picture you can see the both hand operated and the machine operated sewing machine we have, and how the balance wheel looks like. When you see a machine, you can understand that this particular part is said as balance wheel. Next, on the upright section, we have the stitch length regulator. Stitch length regulator is very important to understand. So it is the device that regulates and adjusts the stitch length, and it is used to vary the sizes of the stitch in the relation to the thickness of the material and the thread is used. So you can understand according to like we have discussed from the first, that stitch length or the thread what we use, it all depends upon the fabric, type of the fabric we are using. So stitch length regulator is used or is needed when we have different fabrics to get it stitched, and according to the thickness or the thinness of the material, we use the thread and the stitch length. So the size of the stitch should be changed according to the fabric being stitching. So according to the fabric what we are stitching, we adjust the size of the stitch using the stitch length regulator. So this is one of the important part we have to understand and know its use. Then we use on the upright section, one part is the reverse stitch lever. Reverse stitch lever is used. It is also called as the back tack lever. Back tack lever, generally we find this part on the motorized sewing machine. So it is called the back tack lever, and it controls the direction of the fabric movement. Like if we are stitching in a straight way and want the fabric to get it back, so we just press that back tack lever or the reverse stitch lever, the fabric starts moving at the backward direction. So it controls the direction of the fabric movement. As soon as we press the lever down, the direction of the fabric movement changes. Though if we want to change the movement of the fabric from forward to the backward, we press this back tack lever or the reverse stitch lever. So instead of moving back, the fabric moves suppose what we when we are using the hand operated sewing machine, what we do, if we want the fabric to be moved backward, we just keep the needle inserted into the fabric, we stop the machine, and we just start moving the fabric to the backward direction. But in the electric or the motorized sewing machine, we have this facility of the back tack lever, that without stopping the machine or moving the fabric, we can just press the back tack lever or the reverse stitch lever, and fabric will automatically start moving at the backward direction. So it has the double row of, if we want to make the double row of stitching, we can use this particular part of the machine. Then apart from the upright section, we have the arm section on the machine. So you can see the picture and understand what the arm section, when you see the machine on whole, the have the arm section on the machine. So arm section, when you see the machine, the straight part of the machine, it is said as the arm section. So it is the horizontal support of machine that contains the mechanism for handling the upper thread. Like the horizontal part of the machine, at the bed part, we can say it contains the mechanism of holding this upper thread. Like upper thread and the lower thread we have. So this arm section consists of the tools or the parts which holds the upper thread. So apart from that, we have on the arm section, we have many important parts, such as we have the oil window or oil gauge. So oil window is the path of the area, and it indicates the amount of oil in the self-oiling mechanism and is called as the oil gauge. So industrial machines, there is an oil tank which provided below the bed of the machine. Like we have, suppose we are talking about the domestic machines, there we have small holes where you can put the oil to better functioning or the smooth operation of the machine. But when we have the industrial machines, we have separate oil tanks which is below the bed of the machine, which holds the oil and gives the smooth operation of the machine. Then on the arm section, we have the spool pin or spool stand. So in the picture, you can see and understand that spool pin is some stand or a pin like part on the machine, which is there to hold the spool pin or spool of the thread. Like the thread, we have to put it for the stitching. So it holds the spool of thread on the machine, which is on the arm section. And the next part on the arm section we have is the thread guide or the thread eyelet. Thread guide and the thread eyelet is very important to understand. Like threading is one of the important function we have to understand. So thread guide are the part of machine that guide the thread from the thread cone to the needle. Like we have the spool pin where we have our thread spool, and from that point we have to get our thread inserted into needle. So we have to follow the thread guide which is on the arm section of the machine. We use it to get it thread adjusted on the machine, and then we have the thread eyelet where we put the thread. So they help to keep the thread in its proper course and protect it from the abrasion. Like if we do not follow the thread guide which it is given on the machine, thread will get it abrade or it will tear off very easily. So that it can move smoothly through the needle and into the fabric to form a stitch, we have to follow the proper thread guide and use the thread eyelet. Then apart from arm section we discussed, we have the face section of the machine. So face section, it is the vertical support of the machine. Arm section was the horizontal support, and face section is the vertical support of the machine that contains the mechanism for driving the needle and handling the upper thread. Like it drives the machine and handle the upper thread of the machine what we have inserted. In that section, we have the parts like the needle bar. Needle bar, it is the vertical bar or a lever which face section, it is the vertical support of the machine that contains the mechanism for driving the needle and handling the upper thread. In this face section, we have different parts in which we have the first needle bar. So it is the vertical bar on the needle bar. So needle bar. So it is the vertical bar on which the needle is mounted with the help of needle clamp. So there is one clamp on the needle bar onto which we fix our needle, and it helps the needle to move up and down, taking it in and out of the fabric while we are operating the sewing machine and stitching. Then next part on this face section we have is the pressure bar. Pressure bar, it is also a vertical bar that on the lower end of which is attached to the pressure foot, and it can be raised up or lowered down by using the knee lifter or the pressure foot lifter. So we have the pressure bar. Then we have the pressure foot. The pressure foot holds the fabric firmly down against the throat plate, thus preventing the fabric from rising and falling with the needle. Every time needle moves up and down, we have the pressure foot operated. And at the same time, it holds the material against the bed, against the feed dog, as the feed rises up to move the material. So feed dog, it holds the fabric and it helps to move the fabric. Then we have the pressure regulator. Pressure regulator, it controls or regulates the amount of pressure that is given by the pressure foot on the fabric which is being sewn. So it is provided at the top of the pressure bar. It is rotated clockwise to increase the pressure or stitching for the stitching on the finer fabric, and is rotated anti-clockwise to reduce the pressure while stitching on the thick fabric. So in this way we use the pressure regulator according to the fabric what we are using to get it stitched. Then we have the hand pressure foot lifter. So it is this hand pressure foot lifter is located at the back of the machine. Generally on the hand operated machine we have, it is located at the back side of the machine. So it is back of the machine, and it is used to raise or lower the pressure foot. Like we have the pressure foot part, so to get it lift up and down, or we raise up and down, we use the hand pressure foot lifter. So it can be turned either to the right or the left to the right according to the pressure foot. Then we have the tension regulator. Tension regulator, it controls the amount of tension that is given on the upper thread, and this tension regulator, it consists of tension disc. There are different parts under the tension regulator. We have the tension disc. So there are two tension discs between which the thread is made to pass. So you can understand by seeing the picture that there are two discs between which our thread pass, and it controls the delivery of the upper thread from the spool to the needle, and it ensures that correct tension for the stitch formation. So main purpose of the tension disc too is the proper movement of the thread from the spool and to adjust the tension of the stitch. Then we have the tension nut. Tension nut, it can be rotated clockwise or anti-clockwise to increase or decrease the tension which is needed on the needle thread. So according to that we adjust the tension nut. Then we have the take-up spring. Take up spring, it is a small wire behind or at top of the tension disc. So it provides a small amount of tension on the needle thread. Then we have the throat plate. Throat plate, it is smooth surface on the machine bed directly under the pressure foot. Pressure foot, what we have, it is directly under, we have one throat plate, and the throat plate provides a smooth flat surface over which our fabric passes and it is being stitched. Then we have the feed dog. Feed dog, it lies beneath the throat plate where our fabric is put. Under that we have a feed dog. It is a feed dog, it consists of a toothed surface, like we have a zigzag type of texture there, which rises through the opening of in the throat plate. So the purpose of feeding is to move the fabric along by a predetermined amount between the successive stitches. So what we are having the stitching, this feed dogs move the fabric forward and the backward. Then apart from these the main parts which we have some another parts which is very important to understand. We have the oil pan or oil tank. Right now we discussed that in our domestic sewing machines we have the oil point or the oil window is there where we put the oil for the smooth operation of the machine. And on the industrial machines, we have the oil tank which is below the bed of the machine where the oil is there to give the smooth operation of the machine. Then we have the bobbin winder. Bobbin winder, like bobbin and bobbin case is there. And on the machine, we have one separate part where we can put our bobbin case and we can wind up the threads on that using the machine only. Then we have the knee pressure foot lifter on the machine. We have the foot treadle, like to operate the machine using our foot. We have the hook, bobbin and bobbin case. So these are other important parts on the sewing machine which we use for the garment construction. So learners, in this session we discussed different parts of sewing machine. What we discussed about that there are three main parts: the machine, table and its bed. Then we discussed that we have the upright section, arm section and the face section. Under that we have different parts and we explained the function of that particular different parts of the sewing machine and its use. Hope this session will be beneficial for you. Thank you.